Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to 35 Milla. This is our first short form review, and today we're going to be discussing the new erotic thriller, Deep Water. Let's get into it. So this movie is anchored by performances from Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. They famously started dating during shooting this movie. Let me say that I had very high hopes for this film, both because I think Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas are charismatic leads, but also it's directed by a competent director who has directed a number of erotic thrillers. He's basically the person who started the genre in the 80s with Fatal Attraction, Indecent Proposal. I should also say that he's made the movie Jacob's Ladder, which is a slept-on movie about a Vietnam vet returning to the U.S., and it's kind of a crime, fantasy, mystery, dark, gritty movie that I really, really like. So knowing that he helmed this movie and was at the controls made me excited. I should also say that the film is anchored on a Patricia Highsmith novel, which I was also excited about because she is a great writer who has had two fantastic movies adapted from her work, The Talented Mr. Ripley and the movie Carol, which was adapted by Todd Haynes and is based on a short novella titled The Price of Salt. And that was one of my, if not my favorite movie from 2014 or 2015 whenever it came out. So with all of this going for it, I was very excited for this movie. There was a lot of hype around the film. It was bringing back R-rated erotic thrillers for adults with pulpy mystery stories. Much of that excitement dissipated a little bit when this movie went through a little bit of post-production hell. And long story short, this movie was made and produced by Disney. Once Disney saw the first cut of this film, it decided that this film certainly was not family-friendly enough to put on its streaming service, Disney Plus, or as it's called in the biz, the Plus. So Disney decided to sell the rights to this film, and it has since been acquired by Hulu. Now, before we get into this in a little bit more depth, I should hit you with a spoiler warning. More often than not, these short-form reviews will contain spoiler warnings, so if you have not watched Deep Water and you do not want the film to be spoiled for you, then you should stop here. So feel free to pause and come back after you've checked out the film. Now, this movie is ridiculously bad. In fact, laughably bad. Despite all of the things that it had going for it, which I outlined at the top of the video, it is a flop. It is not good. I'm going to give the movie a 5.2, and the only reason I'm going that high is because there are some stylish scenes, there are some cool shots of the setting, and it's interesting to watch the Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas on-screen chemistry, knowing that they had a relationship in real life, and at times their chemistry is fun to watch on screen. Now, let's get to why the movie is terrible. So, the basic plot of this movie is that Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck are living in an incredibly nice house in a very rich neighborhood of some temperate climate in the South. Ben Affleck is so rich that he has retired. He's not working, as far as I could tell in the film. Neither is Ana de Armas' character. She's basically a dilettante who goes out and parties all the time. She clearly has an alcohol problem. But the real kernel of plot behind this movie is their fucked up relationship. And when I say their fucked up relationship, I mean that Ana de Armas' character is basically cuckolding Ben Affleck in plain sight, with him knowing, with their entire friend group, with basically the entire town knowing, for the entire 2-hour runtime of this movie. So that's the plot of the movie. It starts off with Ben Affleck seemingly being okay with this, having signed up for this type of arrangement, but shortly into the film, he snaps, he blows a fuse, and he ends up murdering all of Ana de Armas' incredibly young lovers throughout the town. I should say that one of them is played by Jacob Elordi. He's in this film. He is the star of Euphoria. He doesn't have a lot to chew on in this movie. He's only in a couple scenes, and his character is pretty hysterical. Basically, he's some prodigy wunderkind piano player who hangs around at the local bars, at the local lounges, at the local piano joints. So he has a very short stint in the movie where he's hooking up with Ana de Armas before Ben Affleck proceeds to drown him viciously in a pool. So that's the gist of the movie. Why doesn't it work? It doesn't work because the movie is as ridiculous as it sounds. There's not much time given to the dynamics of Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck's relationship. It's not treated in any depth or with any sophistication. It's basically just that she's unhappy, and as a result of that, she fucks around, and Ben Affleck seemingly should put up with that. And then Ben Affleck basically just loses his shit with it 25 minutes, 30 minutes into the movie. And it's not really clear what exactly pushed him over the edge to lose his shit. I mean, it seems like this has been going on for a while, and he did in fact agree to this type of relationship. It's unclear why exactly he snaps, but he does, and then it's just basically an absurd murder affair where he murders 3 or 4 people in this small town. Now, where does the noir element come in? The noir element comes in because within the first 25, 30 minutes of the movie, it's kind of unclear whether Ben Affleck's killing these people or not. And there's a fiction writer in town who attends these parties, and he basically takes on the responsibility of trying to uncover who's murdering these people, and he suspects Ben Affleck. He hires a private investigator. So that's the noir story, but it's just not very compelling. I mean, as I mentioned, you learn pretty early in the movie that Ben Affleck is in fact murdering these people. So once you find that out, there's not really much mystery left to the story. And after that, it's just absurd antics about how he can murder people and try to cover it up in this rich Louisiana town. One extra nugget of just complete absurdity in this movie is that Ben Affleck, in his retired state, for some inexplicable reason, starts breeding or growing snails in the basement of his incredibly wealthy house. And it's just a bizarre part of the film. I'm not really sure why it's in there. I mean, it strikes me as an attempt to give more depth to the Affleck character because the character is otherwise so shallow, but it's just so laughably done that it backfires. It doesn't give him depth. It just makes him more of a complete, unbelievable, and absurd character that anchors the film. So keep an eye out for the snails. I can't say I've ever heard of people growing or having snail collections, but nonetheless, it made its way into this film. That's that. That's Deep Water. Really high expectations, but a disappointing and just very bad movie. I hate to say it. So thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think of the film below, and follow for more.